Yeah, this whole anime series is tripping me out, bro. Welcome back to episode 6 of Heavenly Delusion. If you haven't watched the other episodes, highly recommend going back and watching episodes 1 through 5 prior to watching this one, or just watching the series yourself and then coming back and watching this. Without further ado, let's jump right into my review of episode 6. So I will let you touch my boobs if you get it. So basically what she ended up doing was there's this whole disaster that they ended up coming down to because they're trying to find fresh water. They get into this sewer where they find the fresh water, but they had noticed that somebody had been dead, basically incapacitated, and they're like, well, what's going on? And then they think that it's a man-eater, and in actuality you come to realize, even when I look at it, I'm like, I know that that's not a man-eater from what the other people have been talking about, but they're like, oh no, it's a man-eater. I didn't know what this is. Her shots are perfect, and I don't know why this didn't crush the bear when it ended, because it is a bear, but it just knocked the bear out. And then I like the little touch where it's just like, oh, that's so cool that you were able to do it. So he's like, all right, kill it. Grabs that, but the interesting part too, of which you'll find out later, and I might touch on this just briefly, he is able to do other work to other humans that aren't diseases, but then when the bear, the little thing wakes up, that face, dude, I don't know, bro, it's kind of priceless. It's kind of reminds me of Adobe the Elf type of thing, and it's like, well, wait, that's not right, it's a wild animal. So it's they climb up here, and it's just oh no, what's gonna happen? That's the bear, how are we gonna get down? And then it's oh, it's getting cold because they were in this water, so clearly they have some cold stuff. They're at least drying their shoes and their socks off, which is pretty neat. But the series is kind of it's the first 2 episodes, 3 episodes, dude. It paid really good attention to the details, and it added in these small little bits and pieces. And here's the battery again as well too. We just had it. Here we go. So it has the 4 slots because the battery gives 4 different shots to their gun, so having that as a way to be able to perform things. And she's like, oh well, I dropped it. The only way that we can get it is if I let you touch my boobs. But this is where I'm just dude, the anime started out so good. There's these small little details, there's these subtleties of this different world building and characters around, and then all of a sudden episode 5 comes and it's oh, it's not as big as it once was. And it's okay, well, that kind of sucks. And that's why it's just it's still good because there's still a lot of different questions, but there's just so many different open loops where I'm just bro, give me something else. I need something else. And I know I've talked about this several times, but it's very frustrating to me how there's just all these open loops and I didn't get answers to any of these questions. And then I'll probably never watch this anime again or read the manga. So it's well, all right, whatever. That's just how it is. But as long as it's not a man-eater, you'll get 1 shot to the head. And it's just am I that good of a shot? Because he's talking about how it's then you'll use, because their original plan was normal people can't fall down the height that you can, so it's just I'll go down, you kill a bear, and then I'll jump on top of the bear and use it as a cushion to get down. And that's where you're just well, let me tell you one thing, you're way better at using the gun, you can shoot way accurate than I can. It's just yeah, you are really that good of a shot. Normally, people don't have that. They can't be running and shooting at people like that. And she's yeah, you are super helpful, because there's certain times in your life, at least there has been in my life, where it's just I didn't necessarily feel I was being helpful, but it's I'm always helping in the ways that I need to be helpful in, just as much as you're being helpful in the ways that you need to be helpful in. Each and every single one of us is being helpful in the ways that we need to be helpful in, but we compare ourselves to these other people that are doing more help or doing better things than us. But it's nobody's actually doing better things than us because we don't know their life. We always forget that there's other people behind us or other people beforehand that aren't doing as well as us, but we don't look at those people because those people aren't people to compare ourselves to. We'd rather make ourselves feel inferior by looking at somebody else and how they behave. But it's you have the strength, you have the power, you have the capabilities, you have the resolve, you have the determination, you have the grit, you have the confidence, you have the conviction, you have everything that you have ever needed right in front of you. Sorry about that. Sometimes you just need to have somebody else be hey, you know what? You are helpful. You can do this. Even if it's dangerous, you can do it. And this was a past, I guess, trauma from Robin back in the day, I think it was episode 4, when I was talking about, she has, had this other dude that was, her bodyguard and was, helping him fight, basically. And that's why it's just okay, so I guess I am valuable. I have grown over these years. I have acquired these new skills. I have become stronger than I ever was beforehand. So let's make a new plan. So they make a new plan. And it's just once it's far away, you get a chance. You get down, protect it, and then it's just you'll run as far as soon as I land. So she ends up falling. He saves her, gets down as quickly as she can. She ends up taking the shot on the bear, which is golden shot. And sometimes the gun doesn't always have 4 shots, but she's yeah, we'll do it. And she ends up taking out the bear, which is great. Little thing, and she's you actually thought I'd run away? That hurts. yeah, she seems to like to hurt him quite a bit, which is a little messed up, but it's just like the battery was charged with your horny energy. Nothing wrong with having horny energy. And that's where it's just like, this seems like a girl, but apparently, like, I say it's still a girl. Like, I look at it as a girl, but that's my take. Just like, sorry, the homeboy didn't end up making it. They end up going back, realizing that like there was kind of a trap, or there was supposed to be a trap. These words also do come into play a little bit later, but it's just like she gave us 2 rooms comfortably on our own, and that's where it's just like, did you forget something? Did you forget about your promise? I risked my life, Let me touch your boobs. Like, everybody wants to touch boobs. Like, there's nothing wrong with being a little horny person. At least, I mean, it doesn't have to be. Obviously, do it in the right way. But like, it does kind of pan over to like these shots. Was originally black and straight. It seems my hair has changed. That's probably why I started growing it red or dyeing it red. It's just like, you sure touching my boobs means this, like, if you say it doesn't matter, then I'll keep my promise, because my promise between men, it's a little freaky, but what are you going to do? It's just like, please keep the rooms clean. Please don't dirty the futon. So it's just like, this is not the place for doing that. They end up going into the other room, and then all of a sudden she's like, hey, so we can actually do it this way. So this is something where it's just like, you always get what you want, and might not necessarily, you always get what you need. It might not necessarily be in the way that you wanted it to come in, but like, he did end up getting to touch boobs. Like, he did end up getting to do that, and that's where he's like, wait, hold on. How was I able to do that? Like, I was just able to reach into her for a brief second, and it's just like, hey, get over here. It's a very awkward situation, but it's also like, it shouldn't have to be an awkward situation. Like, it doesn't need to be an awkward situation. There's nothing wrong with doing these types of things. Like, this is just what humans do. This is just how the world works. This is just how the life is. There's nothing wrong with that. Having sex is not a bad thing. Like, it's just something that we all do as people. So just remember that. As long as you receive consent, as long as you do it in the correct way, then you're going to be golden. And then later we go back to him, Tokyo, where he ended up going to the infirmary because he threw up, and he sees these feet under the ground. She's like, who's there? He opens it up. Nothing's there. And then all of a sudden, this other, like, Asarua ends up coming in and talks about, like, what are you good at? Asking him these questions. And she's like, what do you mean? And then all of a sudden, like, this disease starts coming over him, and he's like, oh no, what's going on? Like, doctor, save me. And she's like, oh, it was just a dream. But was it ever just a dream? Will it ever just be a dream? It's never just a dream. That's the great part. All of this is just a dream, but it's not. You could have complete control over what you want to have complete and utter control over. So it's very fun and exciting. And I've had times in my life too where, like, I was riding my bike a lot, and I would see things that I didn't, like, that weren't actually there. And I was like, oh, there's something there. And it's just like, I'd open my eyes, and then I get closer, and I was like, oh no, that was just my mind playing tricks on me. If you ever want to learn more about this, I highly recommend, like, looking up, like, hypnosis or hypnotist, because, like, you can create these different scenarios for these different people in these different ways and make them believe things that they might not have originally believed in the first place, which is kind of a trip. It's actually really quite interesting and exciting, and I like it a lot, like, way more than I ever could have imagined liking it. But yeah, our minds will always just show us and let us hear the things that we want to hear. Like, recent videos I did actually a couple of weeks ago, there's a lot of people getting very upset around the things that I was saying, and it's just like, bro, like, I'm not attacking you. Like, why is your identity so closely tied to the said person? Like, there's nothing wrong with that, but like, you don't have to have it be that way. Like, you can do things differently. Like, you can detach from the scenario, you can detach from the world that's around you, you can detach from, like, the life that you have or the life that you live. And it's just like, oh, I did not know that I could do that. I also did not know that this was at the end of this episode. So now I understand. Oh, so it was, dude. I was so confused. Bro, I was so confused because I swore that this was a dude, but no, it's a girl. And I was like, how did they end up having a baby? Because you find that out in a later episode, which I believe that's in the next episode. Because I didn't go to the end of the credits. Maybe you didn't even go to the end of the credits. But like, they're playing back all the security camera stuff and seeing what's going on, like what's happening, yada, yada, yada. This time you go out in the camera, but like the camera shows him still sleeping, nothing, doesn't show the door open, ends up showing him still sleeping as well too. So it's like, is there a fate or a hand being pulled in a different direction? It's just like, maybe it is. I was worried about something, but it's all better now. They end up coming together. Having this is, oh, that's good, because they had this conversation in the park. He grabs the boots, realizes that, oh, they are a match. She's like, oh, match, perfect, awesome. And she's like, oh, no, like, I found it, that's it. The footprint in the room is Tokyo's, but how? Without anyone noticing? Like, it's like, oh, we need to go back and review all these cameras. I saw Asta's ghost today. Might have just been a dream. It's just like, you like Asta. You liked Asta, right? Yep. But it's different. To my love for you. You know what? That right? See, dude, that's so weird. But yeah, apparently this is a girl. Who would have known? Who would have thought? But yeah, apparently they end up having child, which we'll talk about in the next episode. But yeah, this whole anime series is tripping me out, bro. I don't know what to think about it, but I'm making episodes for you, so you can let me know what you've thought about it, and I'll talk to you in the next video.